also get our livelihood. And there's a greater burden, a greater responsibility on us to make sure that the institution survives into the future. Once we begin to have that orientation, I think our commitment level will be much greater. Currently, as we sit here, if we take those who are around 30 years, like the question that the Amale posed, in the next 30 years, if you are an employee of SSNIT, you need to ask yourself, would the scheme be solvent enough to continue to pay me pensions until the Lord calls you? So I believe that the SSNIT workers should begin to have a deeper reflection and a deeper commitment to make sure that a much stronger institution is built. I think that for some time, there seemed to be the impression that, SSNIT is a good employer, paying well. What benefits can I get out of the system and go away? And sometimes, I think to the extent that some even compromise on some systems, on some ethical issues. When you do that, you are eroding the very foundation of the institution that will pay your benefits in the next 30 or 40 years to come. So my idea or belief is that there has to be a renewed commitment, a new sense of responsibility to make sure that on behalf of the Ghanaian workers, SSNIT workers will take a certain posture to make sure that this scheme stands generations to come, generations after us. Thank you.
Well, you're right. But let's stay on the issue of shared responsibility in creating a culture of social security awareness. Let me go to Madam Inti. In your view, has civil society advocacy in public education
Throughout our transitions, we've strengthened our interaction with civil society, with the public, throughout our transitions. I would mention, for instance, our bid to rope in the informal sector at some point. We spoke with fishermen, we spoke with, across the divide. And all kinds of worker groups. And in that process, they got to know more about us. We made it so interactive, they got to know more about us. And we've constantly, at each transition from the Provident Fund to the pension scheme, we concentrated on public education, on meeting face-to-face fora with, and we've never shirked our responsibility in that line. We've always, it must produce results, and it has. I think people are more receptive to us than a few years back. Right. Yes.
I see. But it's interesting to hear the point you make about the role of all stakeholders in promoting social security. Employers are key stakeholders in sustaining social security systems. Mr. Saki, as a lawyer, you have dealt with a lot of cases involving employers and their staff on non-payment of SSNIT contributions. Tell us your thoughts. How has the relationship between SSNIT and employers evolved in terms of compliance and collaboration over the years?
Thank you. Over the years, employers see SSNIT as SSNIT staff as people who don't deal with them with empathy. Because when they prosecute, it's like...
Hold on that point. You used to be a SSNIT staff.
Yes.
Is that how you felt when you worked with SSNIT?
No.
Tell us how you feel now as a pensioner and a lawyer.
Because you see, we in fact, when I was at prosecution, we instituted Judicial Training Institute, training of the judges, to ensure compliance with the law, to ensure fairness in dealing with our employers. I'll tell you an example. We have a policy on collection of arrears and negotiation. Now they have 6 months to negotiate. There was this employer who was always defaulting, and he was in court. He told me at a point that he almost died because his hypertension was high, diabetes was high. SSNIT would not listen to him.
So SSNIT kills employees.
Hold on. Now, my general manager assigned him to us to deal with him. So he came. I said, bring your proposal. And he brought a 5-year proposal. I said, no, this is unacceptable. At least maximum 1 year. He went back, came with 36 months. And he explained to me that he works with the mines. And the mines, they pay him quarterly. And so now he has regular contribution to pay. He has arrears to pay. He has penalty to pay. So I advise him that since you are in court, take the proposal to court. If the judge accepts it, so be it. Look, the judge accepted it. So what he was doing every Saturday was to show his receipt. I've paid the penalty, I've paid current contribution, I've paid the arrears. Over 3 years, he's paid, he's surviving as I sit.
So
today.
The collaboration here is advising them and giving them different forms of terms of
option.
payment.
Sometimes we need to listen to them.
Kofi, hold on there.
We hold the position that once the case is in court or the matter is in court, there is nothing we can do.
Kofi,
there is something you can do. If DG calls you or your general manager calls you about this employer who is in court, you can do something about it.
I see. But tell us, how can employers support the efforts to extend coverage to the informal sector? Because I knew that you worked on some.
Yes. In fact, the public education we do, we need to extend it to the employers themselves. Most of them don't understand. I am an educator. I consult for Ghana Employers Association. I do a lot of training, retirement planning. Recently, I was in one of the biggest companies in Tema. They don't seem to understand SSNIT, qualifying condition, the pension, particularly the second one, invalidity. And when I explained that if you do a minimum of 12 months and something happens to you in the course of your work, you can qualify, they were amazed. They were looking at me.
Which one is the invalidity, if you may know?
No, invalidity in the course of your work life, either traveling to work or after work going home, or even on the job, if you suffer setback or an accident, which makes it impossible for you to work. So the key word here is that you must not be capable of work. And so if that happens, and you've made a total of 12-month contribution within the last 36 months prior to the accident, you qualify for invalidity pension.
SSNIT must be very generous.
It is indeed. In fact, our scheme appears to be the most generous scheme,
right,
if I may put it that way.
Thank you. Let me go to Mr. Mobila. My deepest concern is how technology can easily erode the gains of history. I mean, listening to Auntie Rose and the submissions made by Doc and Reverend so far, clearly SSNIT has done a great job over the past 60 years. But technology, all of us here will agree, is evolving. And it is important that SSNIT operations meet new service standards. Frank, you are the current General Manager Benefits and a long-serving SSNIT staff, I believe so. Tell me, how is SSNIT adapting to technological change and rising customer expectations?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Let me start by saying that SSNIT, we have actually evolved. We have moved from a state where we used to have branches operating as a standalone branches. What I mean by that is you move into a branch office, transact business, and then whatever you've done stays with that branch. At the end of the day, we have to take backups and send it to a central point to go and store. We evolved from there, got to a point where even when our members lodge their survivor's claim, someone dies and then you go to a particular branch office to go and lodge a claim. And if there's a beneficiary in another region, what it meant was that we have to transfer that part of your beneficiary to another region before you go and process and then get paid. So we have actually evolved from that era. In fact, employers started asking us questions. Why must I go to where I registered as an establishment before I can secure something like a client certificate, or I can even pay contribution? Our members will tell us, why must I come physically to your SSNIT office before I can register to become a SSNIT member?
Yeah.
All these complaints started going on, but the truth of the matter is that SSNIT, we've gone very far. We have done a lot of things, but maybe I must accept that in communicating this to the public and Ghanaians, maybe there's a lot more to do.
Frank,
so I want to.
You do us a favor by telling us what some of these internal technical innovations are. We need to know.
So we have introduced what we call mobile app. Everything that you want to do, update your data. In fact, when you're of age, even lodge your pension claim and start taking pension. And when you hit some age, we can even do validation, what we call pension certification. Do it for you without you physically visiting any SSNIT branch office. That's how far SSNIT has come.
Momo is the order of the day. Can someone in Savulugu pay his or her SSNIT contributions using Momo?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. When the presenter, Mrs. Saki, was speaking, she mentioned sustainability as maybe a main challenge of the scheme. What we need to do is to expand by bringing in more people and also ensuring that people pay contributions wherever they find themselves. Again, some long time ago, like I said earlier, you have to move to where you register to go and pay your contribution. That is time, it's now gone.
Can we use Momo?
We have now leverage on Momo technology. So wherever you are, that's why we introduced the SSNIT USSD, that is the *711*9#. Wherever you find yourself, you can pay your SSNIT contribution without even walking to any SSNIT office.
SSNIT has really gone far. I think that code should be put on the screen for all of us to see. And for those who can give it a try, please do now and let's see whether it's really working. Mrs. Inti, aside technological inclusion, the sustainability of the scheme holds high as far as prudent investment is concerned. You sat at the heart of strategy and planning in SSNIT for, I think, over a decade. Tell me, in your view, how can SSNIT balance today's obligations with long-term investments for future generations, as far as social security is concerned? Yes. Especially from the investment angle.
From the strategic planning angle, we can only hold ourselves to our KPI on investment. And that is a tough one already, because we look at real returns on investment. Sometimes those are set long before inflation starts dancing all around. And even that is how best you can leverage what we take today against the future. That is how important investment is to us as a social security institution. And the investment wing is held responsible for sustaining this.
Right.
Yeah. I'm a bit careful. I keep breaking because somebody may come up to say, but they say all your investments are not doing well. If that question comes up, I would implore the investment gurus to answer. It's just a few that have not done well. But apart from that, we are so careful, so scientific in selecting our investment avenues.
Can you confidently tell us that, let's assume we don't get any contributions coming in for the next 100 years, the investments that we have, will it be enough to pay our pensioners for the next, say, 20 years?
That is for the external actuary to do, to tell us. But then, I must say that SSNIT is always been evaluated by the internal actuaries, evaluated by the external actuaries on how far what we have today can take us.
All right. So clearly, SSNIT is strong.
It's strong.
Thank you. All right. Now, for everything my first 5 panelists have said today, the measure of success stops with those who directly benefit from the scheme. Our pensioners, yes, whether those who benefit from invalidity pension, old age pension, survivors benefit, and to some extent the immigration benefit, they are the measure of success. So let's hear what the scorecard of SSNIT reads, and who best to do that than Mr. Boakye, NPA General Secretary. Big Boss, how has Social Security enhanced the quality of life and sense of security among our pensioners and in your retirement?
See, SSNIT has done well. SSNIT has done well. There's no time that SSNIT has default in payment of our pensions. You know, pensioners, we always look forward for our money. Mrs. Amali, when she said, will SSNIT be sustainable for the next 30 years? I woke up. I said, I had this information some 11 years ago when we were holding our delegates conference in Shama. I said, is it true? Okay, let's open our ears and eyes and see. 11 years now, it has not happened. But there must be bad there. I have been in a forum like this about 3 times, and I said, I'm in Tema. So, SSNIT, are you able to chase those employers who are defaulting in paying their workers' contributions? I was always chasing my boys to go to the SSNIT office and check whether their contributions are paid every 2 or 3 months to find out. Deal with cash. We are always open. It's like a lion opening his mouth. When you enter, you close the mouth. So we wait for our pen, but we are comfortable. We are comfortable with SSNIT. After that one, no problem. Now, we get alerts earlier before the pension payment. That is very good for us.
Right.
But we are praying that most of us are illiterates.
Right. Okay. So you're pleading. The plea has to fall on the ears of he who leads the organization.
Yes.
DJ is here. This is not the open discussion session, but I'm going to give him just 5 minutes. Mr. DJ, I want you to say something about the new direction and strategy of SSNIT investment, because it looks like that's the core of the discussion we've had this morning.
Moderator, thank you very much. And panelists and friends and family, we have made a conscious decision on where to play in terms of our investments. Over the years, SSNIT has invested in multiple sectors and areas. There are areas that we've been successful at. There are areas where we've struggled. Now, for us, we're conscious of the areas to play at. And one of the areas we decided to play at was within ICT, where our investments in a company like MTN has given us good returns. When you go to banking as well, our banking investments, apart from 2022, because of DDEP, has largely given us some very good returns. So again, this year, our investments have been channeled towards that side. Our investments in energy has been successful. So we then make a conscious effort to expand our footprint in that area.
Right.
But much importantly, the MPRA provides guidelines on areas that we can invest. And those guidelines currently require us over the next couple of years to change the structure from currently our real estate investment to one where the fixed income security portfolio improves. And that's why we are also beginning to play aggressively in that space, because not only is the fixed income security the area that has given us the highest returns on investment, but importantly, it would also be in compliance with the MPRA rules.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, DG. Now, finally, my panelists, as we look to the next 60 years, the challenge is to preserve and renew the legacy of service that we've all been trumpeting. To each of you, in just 60 seconds, and starting with, respectfully, Dr. Rodum, tell me, what advice would you give to secure the future of social security in Ghana? Maybe I should start with Mr. Boachi in that order. In 60 seconds.
No, thank you. As I said earlier, it's a matter of finance, so that we too shall have an adequate pensions. So if SSNIT is able to chase those people to pay the employers' contributions, that will help. I think that is what they, apart from the investment they are making, it's very good. But that one, to me, I cannot sit down for those people to come and cheat us.
Thank you.
Because one day we shall not have our pensions.
Thank you.
To open the
Mr.
net.
Boachi. Doc?
Okay, for me, two things that are on my mind: sustainability of the scheme and adequacy of benefits. So on sustainability, we need to do everything possible. We need to listen to our actuaries. We need to listen to the benchmarks that the actuaries set for us when to do their external evaluations. We need to be able to make the bold move on things like increasing contribution rates a little bit. It's a dicey issue, but I think these are the things that will make the scheme sustainable. We are not talking of a very huge increase, but a conscious effort to make sure that we increase it a little bit so that the scheme will be sustainable. Adequacy of benefits, I have a passion for the low earners in the scheme. So if you ask me truly, I would say that for the next 60 years, maybe we should start thinking about the formula for the benefits.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Reverend.
Thank you. I think that the issue of adequacy is very important. But then that comes from, as a nation, we're having a conversation to pay realistic salaries. We need to pay realistic salaries. We are pretending to be paying salaries. And at the end of the month, it is on that pension, that salaries that SSNIT pays its pension. And once from that standpoint, that itself is not adequate, there is no way pensions will be adequate. So I believe that we need a national conversation on paying realistic incomes, which of course will mean that as a nation we need to look at creating much more wealth and then distribute it equitably.
Right. On realistic income, Frank, what's your point there?
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I would just want to add to what Reverend had just said right now. The adequacy is very critical. I think as a nation, we need to begin to have a conversation. Must we still continue to pay social security based on basic salary? We need to pay social security. For what the GRA people have done is that you pay tax on every amount that you earn. So we need to begin to have a conversation where we can pay social security based on gross. I think that aspect will ensure that people will not load too much on allowances so that the contributions will become small and they will earn a pension on that.
So yours is on
And
consolidation.
then also, Mr. Moderator, the last is the numbers. Look, in the informal sector, we have about 80% of people in the informal sector who do not belong to any social security scheme. Now we are allowing them that we want to convince them. If you go to a neighboring country like Kenya, they have legislated. Whatever business you want to do, you must be paying social security for yourself. So I believe that if we really intend to reduce old age poverty as a nation, then we'll have to be looking at finding a way to legislate so that everybody who is doing something should be, by all means, belong to a social security scheme.
Well said. Let's hear from Kofi.
Thank you.
Yes, unfortunately, NPRA is not represented here. But DG in his opening remarks said the first year has to be all inclusive. And this is a platform to engage. Now, the Bediako Committee, the main recommendation was that we should consolidate the para pension scheme. Now, NPRA has succeeded in reforming only SSNIT. They have not reformed CAPTET. And so this is the time we need to engage them. So they do the unification. They express some technical issues with the paramilitary, police, immigration, and whatnot. By a new ally, they've taken them out. But the others are still there. Right. We must start from somewhere and progress because the 3-tier is actually robust and it can stand the test of time.
Right.
But I think the unification, we must start a national dialogue, as Mr. Bimpon said.
National dialogue. I'm sure the management of SSNIT is here and they've really heard what you mean by that. So, Auntie Fosti, finally.
A major leg for sustainability is the numbers. So our compliance must be strong and innovative because work is changing form in various ways. So we must be abreast with the changing world of work and make sure that we've covered everyone. We have everyone in our net. I think that's the most important thing. Informal sector has been touched already. So
thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. I have really, really, really enjoyed sharing this platform with you. And to you, our special guests, you've listened, you've heard, you've formed your opinions. Keep them to yourself for now. During the open discussion, you have the opportunity to share your concerns, your suggestions, and where you do disagree with anything said here, you also have the platform to say it. Until then, I have the pleasure of...
Thank you so much, Lord and panelists. Thank you so much. I think we can do it better. Let's give them a bigger round of applause. Thank you so much. So like Lord said, if you have any questions or comments, please just write them down on the notepad. We have another round of discussion happening later after the next presentation. But before we bring the next presentation, there's something very, very important that we have to do. And that is to take a health break, which you can also add snack to. So health and snack break. We have coffee, we have juice, we have a few other things in the foyer. We are kindly going to rise and go get that. If you don't feel hungry or you don't think you want to take anything, I have a better idea. Go downstairs, there's a SSNIT desk there. If you have any question or query about anything, they will solve your problem as though you had gone to a regular SSNIT office. So ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in 10 minutes for the next presentation. Let's return in time. Let's go get our coffee. Let's go do some small networking, and let's go make our inquiries from the SSNIT help desk downstairs. Thank you so much. We'll be back.
Hey, 1, 2.
perform. With commitment and passion, we serve our motherland in truth and honesty. SSNIT is 60 years we delivered on the promises that true legacy of service. We shall always lead the way. SSNIT is 60 years we delivered on the promises of true legacy of service. We shall always lead the Since decades of service, we have stood the test of time. Our hearts and minds are high. Our legacy of service, our commitment high. We shall always lead the way. SSNIT is 60 years we delivered on the promises of true legacy of service. We shall always lead the way. Benefit of time, our duty to perform. With commitment and passion, we serve our motherland in truth and honesty. SSNIT is 60 years we delivered on the promises of true legacy of service. We shall always lead the way. SSNIT is 60 years we delivered on the promises of true legacy of service. We shall always lead Since decades of service, we have stood the test of time. Our hearts and minds are high. Our legacy of service, our commitment high. We shall always lead the way. SSNIT is 60 years we delivered on the promises of true legacy of service. We shall always lead the way. Benefit and passion, we serve our motherland in truth and honesty. SSNIT is 60 years we delivered on the promises of true legacy of service. Yes, we delivered on the promises of true legacy of service. We shall always lead the decades of service, we turn minds and high. Our legacy of service. SSNIT is 60 years we delivered on the promise. shall always lead the way. SSNIT 60 years, we delivered on the promises are true. Legacy of service, we shall always lead the way. Benefits of time, our duty to perform. With commitment and passion, we serve our motherland in truth and honesty. SSNIT 60 years, we delivered on the promises are true. Legacy of service, we shall always lead the way. SSNIT 60 years, we delivered on the promises. Our hearts and minds are high. Our legacy of service, our commitment high. We shall always lead the way. SSNIT 60 years, we delivered on the promises are true. Benefits of time, our duty to perform. With commitment and passion, we serve our motherland. We delivered on the promises are true. SSNIT 60 years, we delivered on the promise. Always Six decades of service, we have stood the test of time. Our hearts and minds are high. Our legacy of service, our commitment high. We shall always lead the way. SSNIT 60 years, we delivered on the promises are true. Legacy of service, we shall always lead the duty to perform. With commitment and passion, we serve our motherland. 60 years, we delivered on the promises are SSNIT 60 years, we delivered on the promises are true. Legacy of service, we shall always test of time, our hearts and minds are high. Our legacy of service, our commitment high. We shall always lead the way. SSNIT 60 years, we delivered on the promises
Can we please take our seats so we can proceed with the program? Those at the back, kindly take your seats, please. Well, now that we are back from that health and snack break, we're going to proceed with our second presentation for the day. But before then, we're going to have a beautiful poetry recital to put us in the groove, you know. Yes, so we are going to have a poetry recital, and it's going to be done for us by Mr. Fred Entry. Ladies and gentlemen, can we welcome with a round of applause, Fred Entry?
Hello.
Ebusuafo a mo hyia mu ha ena no pay. Momfa maso emfem me sima mienu. Abra me beka abakosem bi a kire mo. Eye afe apem ahankono odiosia num ene ye wo sa opanyi. Ye wo no dodo na afri ekiri penchinchin wo kuti ekohwe se odehye ben ene ya wo no yi. Na ni dwumadi a ode ba asase nyina ya de baako. Adekro ne se obehwea magana dwumayefo daachi bi omukọ omahomigye mu a omanya akomatoyem. Abra odi mfie nson ena ne wofanom eye Ministry of Finance any SIC eja ne kwan so onkobo ne bra. Anche bia ena osi ni mranti briem eye afe apem ahankono ediokono baako 1991 asem na make ena osi said ya na oye ne dada no o ma ne nso ha na fiti sambre ne kono obe mehwe se bosomi bia adwumayeni bia wakọ na homigiem ye betua no bosomi saa akọpem se odomankoma ankasa beto ne nsa afre no. Ebusuafo saa panyi asemi amikan eye SSNIT na oye batampa oye obi a otie futuo nti anche odru ni mpanyi fie so ena oye ne se siade ye mfa 3-tier scheme mbra. Na 3-tier scheme na yede beba no esan se oye kokromoti a yesan ho bopo enye ye nti no yede tier 1 no ehye ne nsa. Na makaya asembi emu ho ena okai ye se de na tete ye no a ukọ SSNIT se ukọhwe ama yetua wo ka yede bosome ye no sesia onye ne sa biem. Aya na wotwe baako na onsa kan wusika tete no oba yetie wanum asem ne edi agutable so ya fe twerɛdua edi atwerɛ gu nkrata so sesia de ente saa biem. Sesia de obi kan abe fontintan odi nhini wo ho broni say up de to so biem. Ghana ha wa to apiti bebia obutantim why is a crow people oti hopoti or the din seketa lagun na ni mu onham said da gomba for dawa ohie kuma nso onye kontonchi misi oye den ohie kuma nso onye kontonchi yanyina okrom ha ene yete se yewura mampanyi John Dramani Mahama wo se wo di 24-hour economy ba okasa asem ya owura oda dwumakuo ya no oni na chi dom so omonye hwe han omo so the virtual branch beba na virtual branch kra ne den almost say, I can't titi and Calbe Soria Faka, Akoto Santini, Akobo Dompim, or more branch, and Tissabium, Tina Wakunyum, da won't passo, never would take phone, a from. The opposite Yama Bia, Yabesha Yama. Ebusian for, on my yard, and I'm my pre one air. Obibeka said, Anka infiered your Sunday, Anka SSNIT so-called pension, and Yanisa. And to say, Yum to Nibi Kayano, this is just the beginning. We are Shasia, Afenia Ben, Akasia Pa, Ayade, Amao. Nasisiano was say a ye obake, and now Aquaba, SSNIT to see and a member morning say, Yama Wezo, and I send the Zua, a SSNIT, which we have for a conium, which we have for, say Yado, say Bru, Bedamase, Yamin Sham.
Thank you so much. The story of SSNIT told for us in poetry form. As a student of literature, I'm very happy. I'll do a literature analysis, a literature review. Thank you. Thank you. I think it's 90% correct, 100. Thank you so much. I think we can give him another round of applause. So we are proceeding, and we're going to have our next presentation, after which there will be a discussion. So there will be panelists that would be reviewing the address. Now, the next presentation is themed The Future of Social Security in Ghana and Service Delivery in the AI Era. Now, AI has become a problem, hasn't it? As it has become a solution. How do we deal with that? And the SSNIT story. Our presenter is the Dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, UPSA. He served as Dean of the Gimpa Law School, where he demonstrated exceptional leadership in legal education and institutional development. He has written extensively in leading peer-reviewed journals across the world and is widely recognized for his expertise in diverse areas of law. Our guest holds a PhD and is a graduate of Harvard Law School, USA, the Ghana School of Law, and the University of Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest, who is my boss, who I always say he teaches me all the good and a few of the bad things, Professor Ernest Kofi Abochi. Let's welcome with a round of applause. He and I belong to the One Ghana movement, where we help change Ghana, and I'm happy that he's here.
Thank you very much, moderator. The Director General of SSNIT, many other distinguished fellows, too many to merit individual mention. I'm delighted to be here today and to be invited to speak on the topic of the future of SSNIT in the context of AI, an evolving subject that is barely understood by many, and in respect of which many continue to hold their breaths with bated anxiety. I do hope that by the end of my short presentation, we'll have some context and contextual understanding of the future evolution of SSNIT and how we should all reflect of the trust in terms of its growth. Now, social protection is a vital mandate of the state. It is the responsibility of the state to ensure there is no social dislocation. It is the mandate of the state to ensure that while others compete, those who do not have the wherewithal to stay afloat are helped to equally navigate. It is therefore imperative that a country takes care of its vulnerable. The truth of the matter is that social security trust arrangement is fundamentally for the poor. It is for the poor because very often the poor do not have enough to live on, and by reason of which they tend to essentially consume whatever they receive. And so there is no planning for tomorrow. And the poor wake up one day only to realize that the days of work are over and there has been no investment, there has been no savings to take account of the future. And so whether or not we admit that truth, the poor are those who have the greatest stake in any social security framework or arrangement. SSNIT reflects the inequities of social arrangements in our country. But some people earn adequately for the purpose of saving for tomorrow. The vast majority of the Ghanaian continue to struggle from day by day. Again, it's also important for us to remember that while people are able to live on their salaries and are able to earn extra income, justifiably or otherwise. When people are out of work, they do not have any other means apart from what they earn by way of pension payments. Let me put it in a more blunt way. Because of corruption, the Ghanaian survives. True or false? It is because of corruption that is partly the reason why this country is not in turmoil. I'm sure the media will quote that somewhere, that I'm justifying corruption. I'm not. I am admitting a reality that a vast majority of people in Ghana who earn below 1,000 Ghana cedis are able to somehow still live on more than 5,000 or 6,000 or even 10,000 by the end of the month. The difference between what they earn and what they spend, we are happy not to talk about. When these people go on pension, the means of making the extra income has been removed. And then suddenly, reality hits them in the face. That goes to some of the things that were mentioned at the earlier discussion about the adequacy of benefits. The reason why benefits becomes a controversial subject is because while at work, we have the ways and means of making up for the lost income. But when out of work, we have the reality of dealing with the only thing we are given by way of pension. Mr. Chair, therefore, it's imperative for us to remember that a social security scheme such as SSNIT survives on three fundamental pillars. First, it survives on the pillar of social assurance, that there is an assurance that there is a future, and that future justifies contribution. If I cannot be guaranteed that what I'm contributing to is worth the contribution, I will resist. And as somebody mentioned, I think it was the MC who spoke about the Saturday people, who will then tend to invite the Saturday people. The reason why we should have a prosecutory department of SSNIT is precisely based on people's conception of the justification of contribution. There is a fundamental problem about contribution in Ghana because some people do not see the future clearly. SSNIT has a job to do in convincing people that there is a social assurance that the salary earned today must create a future for tomorrow, that the day of work today must preserve the day of pension tomorrow. But that can only happen if you justify the argument of there being a social assurance. The second, number two, pillar, is that any contribution must preserve income. We already live in an era where people are not well paid, where the salary barely takes people home. If what people earn relative to what they contribute is disproportionate within the context of their overall income, then you have a problem. You will have resistance. And that resistance is going to create a problem for the contribution. The truth of the matter is that this country is not honest with itself. There's a big saying in Ghana that because government pretends to be paying me, I pretend to be working. The question is who will win the game of pretense? Very often I think employees win the game of pretense because they are the ones who can show up behind the desk and truly not work, even though they are at work. And I've joked to my students in the past that the most dangerous concept around the ministries is the expression, he is around. The man has come to work. He hasn't closed, but he's not at desk, but he is around. It is important for us to remember that when people are not adequately paid, whatever is taken out may seem significant. There are too many people in Ghana who are still earning salaries that are not worth the name salaries. In fact, the big breacher of the law, the big violator of the law, is government. Because government is the largest employer. And the Constitution says people should be paid. It is in the Constitution. People should be paid living wages, not minimum wages. The government of Ghana has consistently paid minimum wages. But minimum wages are not, the expression is not found in the Constitution. And labor consistently goes to the negotiating table, and somehow we are very happy with the expression minimum wages. Minimum according to who? What is the threshold of minimum? What is the baseline of minimum? What are the boundaries of minimum? Living wages, we know what it is. Wages that can help you live. The truth of the matter, however, is the government can't pay living wages. The reason government can't pay living wages is because living wages must be indexed to the variables of living. So we can do the math. How much do you pay for electricity? How much do you pay for water? How much do you pay at the hospital? How much do you need to clothe yourself and your children? How much do you need to go to the market on a daily basis? Calculated times 30 or 31. The truth of the matter is, when we go into the serious metrics of things, living wages will be a challenge if government has to pay in a country where government remains the largest employer. So there are problems. And so we understand. We have a problem, but until we confront ourselves with the reality, until we confront ourselves with the realities of things, we'll continue to skirt around. I am glad SSNIT is doing an introspection today. That introspection cannot dance around things. And so before I leave this podium, I am sure SSNIT will not invite me again to another program. And part of the reason is because we have to have a very honest conversation. It is only when we open ourselves to the realities of things that we can begin admitting what we can't do. And therefore, time ourselves and probably say, there was a time when we were all growing up, we used to hear education for all by the year 2000. Health for all by the year 2000. The year 2000 came and passed, and I think we all know the truth. But at least we had an ambition. So we should open ourselves to the reality. The third one is that a social security arrangement like SSNIT must preserve income. The third one is that a social security arrangement like SSNIT must respect the fundamental legal principle of trusteeship. The T in SSNIT stands for trust. So SSNIT is a trustee, and I don't think I need to educate anybody about that. What I need to educate some people about is the fact that trusteeship is a specific legal concept that creates a relationship where there's a trustee and then there's a beneficiary. In a typical trust arrangement, there's somebody we also call a settler. The settler is the one who created the trust. So we can say the settler is the government of Ghana. The trustee is SSNIT. The beneficiary are you and I. I have a fond memory of SSNIT as a student. And I'll say this because the first time I ever held good money, big good money, was from SSNIT. Before that time, your mother or father will give you something. That's no money. But for the first time, I had something which is the thousands in the 90s. And for the first time, I opened a bank account. The significant thing about that, however, is that the bank account that I opened because of SSNIT is still my bank account today. And so I have a fond memory of SSNIT. And we can clap for that, I can't be too critical of SSNIT. SSNIT gave me a bank account which has survived till today. Without that, I wouldn't have I wouldn't have succeeded in completing or graduating from school. So that legacy is there. But it's important for us to remember that the trustee is the reason why there's SSNIT. As I listened to DJ and as I listened to some of the panelists, and as I started and kept watching your video, I realized that perhaps what SSNIT also needs to do moving forward, especially in terms of its investment portfolio, is that SSNIT has to stop loving Ghana too much. Ghana is not SSNIT's target. I think sometimes SSNIT mixes who the target is. And so some of the investment are for the sake of Ghana. So I hear we have built schools, we have built hospitals, built hotels, we've gone into energy. SSNIT is supporting Ghana. But that's where the problem is. SSNIT is not for Ghana. SSNIT is for the beneficiary. And therefore, some of the investment benefits Ghana at a go. What that does is that SSNIT is doing the job of government. And that goes partly to the issue of investment tailoring, and it goes also to the issue, we have to say it, of political interference. Sometimes, government will use SSNIT to look good. Because SSNIT has some good money sitting somewhere, whenever there's a fiscal deficit, sometimes government may be tempted over the years. Let's look at SSNIT. They have some billions sitting somewhere. Let's see if we can use that to shore up the budgetary deficit, the fiscal deficit. What that does is that it weakens SSNIT's investment decision-making process. And because as an entity, it has a certain level of governmental origin, governmental representation on boards, governmental appointment of key decision makers, sometimes these things get conflated. It is imperative that as SSNIT hits pension age itself, SSNIT has to begin doing that introspective decision. And I know it's not going to be easy. Sometimes it's very easy when you stand behind a podium to say these things. And I know that decision-making crunch times, sometimes people around the table have to do what they have to do. But once again, like I said, when I stand here, my job is not to sugarcoat things, to say the things that we don't need to, we don't want to hear, so that when we do the introspection, if we can't eliminate, we minimize. Now, at this stage, therefore, these should guarantee income security and reduce vulnerability, which is the key mandate of SSNIT, i.e. ensure that the social vulnerability circumstances of people are reduced and that their income security heading into retirement is secured. Now, how has SSNIT done on these metrics? The truth of the matter, again, is that SSNIT exists within a complex, as I've mentioned, a complex political economic environment. And that complex political economic environment makes the job of SSNIT a bit difficult, particularly as regards the trusteeship relationship of SSNIT to its people, the fund management responsibilities of SSNIT, and its investment deployment. The contribution of people to SSNIT also, therefore, have struggled. It is sad that for a body like SSNIT, which fundamentally almost is a monopoly in that space of a social contributions, SSNIT is just dealing with 15%. And that was confirmed, I think, by the former general manager when she spoke, hovering around 15% collection. So we have 85% of Ghanaians who are eligible, who are supposed to or mandatory to pay for the pension of people going into retirement or for themselves, are not paying. How can you have a scheme for its future sustenance, its future sustainability? How can you have a scheme like that, surviving around 15%? That is not doable. And it is surprising and strange that we haven't been bold and radical about this. SSNIT has billions locked up out there. And it is not at this stage. We can't say we are doing well. I've heard we are doing well. We have done well. In other words, if there wasn't SSNIT, zero would have been disastrous. But at 15%, we are not doing well. And we are not doing well not because SSNIT's management hasn't done well, but we are not doing well because the state hasn't taken the bull by the horn. We cannot wait any longer. We cannot look on the countries like the Kenyas of the world, the Rwandas of the world, the South Africas, the other countries that have done fantastic and continue to do that. We can't wait any longer. Some of these things are statutory. Let's do the legislation. Why should there be a good justification for a formal sector employee to be protected, but no good justification that an informal sector employee is not protected? We can't have the argument won. And so something has to be done. Again, I recognize the fact that these are not easy to deal with, but we would have to take the hard decisions. Again, if you look at the question of the actual payment in terms of the quantum of contributions to SSNIT, because salaries are low, the contributions are low. Because people are, a lot of people are still receiving under 1,000 Ghana cedis. Because salaries are low, contributions are low. I remember once when I heard, I think SSNIT celebrated another anniversary not too long ago, and I heard on the radio that there's somebody who earns 200,000 cedis. I think he's the star boy for SSNIT. I'm still looking for him. I need to be his friend. 200,000 Ghana cedis a month for contributions to SSNIT. I thought, wow, this is a good star boy indeed for SSNIT. But then it tells us one thing, that if somebody's earning 200,000 Ghana cedis, and some people, I'm sure, are also earning in the region of 500 Ghana cedis, or even less, a month, in a country where we all know the economy, then clearly the inequity problem, which is part of the reason why you should have a body like this, preparing everyone to go into retirement, that inequity problem has not been resolved. Is it about time that we start looking fundamentally at the issue of cross-subsidization? In other words, should we get to that point where, again, by legislation, anybody who earns a certain amount of money, and therefore who is likely to go into retirement and earning, let's say, more than 20,000 Ghana cedis a month, that person should come under a bracket of cross-subsidization, in which a percentage of his SSNIT should go to cross-subsidize people who probably earn, let's say, 1,000 Ghana cedis or otherwise. It is not a sexy conversation, because some will say, why should someone work hard and earn so much and go cross-subsidize another? But we should also not forget the fact of, the more you earn, the more you pay. And the more you get from the system, the more you should give back to the system. SSNIT was designed to rectify some of these anomalies. Some of the income anomalies in Ghana are not necessarily because some people are more qualified than others, but it's because some people are just better circumstance and better place than others. In fact, even if you go into the public service, until recently, there were major problems of indexation. You may have people who have similar salary, who have similar qualifications, who are doing similar jobs, some of whom are even better qualified than others, but for some weird reason, they happen to be in one ministry or the other, and they are paid more than others. The salary discrepancy and differentials in the public sector, you find a similar problem in the private sector. The point I am making is that there is always a justification for cross-subsidization. And the hard work and the hard conversation, perhaps it's about time for us to start having those as SSNIT looks forward into the future. I already mentioned the issue of government and government's place in SSNIT. I don't have to go too deeply into that, but there are a few of the issues. For example, if you look at the issue of delayed contributions, government is the largest contributor to SSNIT as the majority, as the employer of the majority of workers. Yet, my information is that government is one of the entities that delay paying SSNIT and doesn't pay SSNIT a lot. For some weird reason, I don't think government has been part of the Saturday court proceedings. So, Director General, why are you discriminating? Government delays. And when government delays, there's a major hole in the account of SSNIT because this is the largest contributor to SSNIT. So government contribution in that respect is something that, again, has to be looked at. How do we ensure that government doesn't delay? So that if SSNIT has, investment deployments that it has to make, government doesn't become part of the problem. The issue of, resistance to reform. Government can be one of the major, sectors of resistance whenever you want a particular reform to be undertaken in the context of SSNIT's own future work. It's important for us to remember that some of these issues, like I've already mentioned, are also compounded by other external factors. The survival or survivability of SSNIT moving forward into the future will have to deal with a number of issues, one of which is the issue of the rising life expectancy. We are beginning to live longer. I don't know whether it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. Perhaps maybe for SSNIT, maybe not too much of a good thing. So I'm sure that as we all go to bed every day praying for long life, I know one person in Ghana who's not praying for long life for people, who is probably hoping that some of these people, they're living too long and they are collecting for, these things for too long. Current projections are that Ghanaians are living up to 65 years plus because of the improvements in health service delivery, because of people's own consciousness about their lifestyle, circumstances and changes. People are living longer lives. SSNIT will have to calibrate its payments around these. That look, suddenly we have beneficiaries who are living longer, and it's going to get more. It's going to get more and more. I would say it's going to get worse, but it's going to get it's going to get better and better for people. People are going to live longer. So SSNIT into the future would have to look at the prospect of longer beneficiary payments than they have done in the past, when the average life expectancy in the 90s heading into the early 2000s was around the 50-year mark. It's important for us to also remember that the difficulty that we've already mentioned, the investment issue. I think the issue doesn't have to be belabored, but SSNIT has mentioned, other very well-placed, experienced SSNIT staff have spoken this morning about the benefits of their investments. And I don't have the hard numbers, but I'm going to say this, that let's give SSNIT the benefit of the doubt. But SSNIT has to deal with perception. Now, perception is crucial. For the owner of a property, his perception about the performance of the property matters more than what you tell him. And so if there's a gap between perception and reality, bridge the gap. Why don't we have regular consultations by SSNIT? Or SSNIT has it and we are not aware. As a member of SSNIT, I don't remember the last time, if ever, I was invited to a stakeholder consultation. And the consultation is about briefings about my investment. Don't forget this. Anytime I drive in front of La Padi and La Palme, and I see, oh, that hotel is mine. And the reason it's mine because I'm a SSNIT contributor. But I don't remember ever being informed or being advised on the performance of La Padi, being informed or being advised on the performance of La Palme. we have a perception difficulty, a perceptual problem. And the perceptual problem is partly fueled by the idea of the trustee thinking for the beneficiary. It is a Ghanaian thing that trust me. It's like going to the doctor. He says, listen, trust me, I'm a doctor. Don't ask too many questions, I'll take care of you. That perception fuels suspicion, especially when it comes to money. And it is part of the reason why people ask, what do I get from SSNIT? Don't forget this. Unlike my regular investment, unlike my properties, unlike the things that I have, I know the things that I have, and so I don't need to be bribed by anyone. And besides, I have them now. But if there's something I'm only going to have in the future, i.e. upon retirement, and I am also not being informed, and I have no idea of knowing that, there's always that perception of a black hole. I'm contributing something into a black hole I will never know about unless I am lucky enough to live into retirement, and then I get to know it. So we need to deal with the perception. I think that like other countries have done it, like Kenya has done it, for example, where you have regular consultations. We need to boost and expand the boundaries of consultation. We have to let people know what it is that they have. We have to start consulting people. We have to start engaging people so that the boundaries of transparency are enhanced. And with the boundaries of transparency enhanced, people can then gain better trust. SSNIT has to deal with issues that are beyond SSNIT, unfortunately. As we move into the future, SSNIT would have to become government under some circumstances because some of the problems of government impact on SSNIT. For example, the persistent decline of the CD. Thankfully, we are in an era, I think, we cannot clap for the CD. I'm sure the CD has been apparently stabilizing. The question is, how far and for how long, yes, are we going to witness the stability of the CD? But we live in a country where any investment that is made in the city, you can be rest assured that there's no certainty of the stability and the growth of that investment. Because the investment, because the investment is indexed to a currency which is not stable. We would have to, and by we I mean SSNIT, as a contributor to SSNIT, but SSNIT would have to deal with the CD problem, especially where our investments are in CDs. But does that justify, therefore, SSNIT considering investment in other more stable currencies? Does that justify SSNIT, for example, risking the contributions of contributors in other jurisdictions and investing in more stable currencies? I'm sure that there are experts, and I'm told from the previous speakers, that there are expert investors who are in SSNIT and who are in this room, and therefore, I'm sure who would probably contribute to the subject when it comes to the discussion. But investment remains one of the thornier areas for SSNIT. Ghanaians generally have this perception, and perhaps it is uninformed, perhaps it is ill-informed. And as Ghanaians, I'm one of those. There's this general perception, and I think that's why the former GM was at pains to clarify that perception may perhaps be false. I don't know whether the former GM or the former colleague who started here, about the fact that it's a perception, and that SSNIT's investments are actually doing well, and that the numbers don't speak exactly as the public thinks. Once again, it means that there's a big gap between the manager, which is the trustee, which is SSNIT, and the beneficiary, which is those of us who are contributing. It is imperative that we know these so that we can better contribute. Now, if you tie this in with the perception of political interference, that is a very strong perception. That SSNIT investments are often driven by political dynamics. That government wants something, SSNIT to do it. Whether the investment numbers make sense or not, SSNIT to do it. These are perceptions. But perceptions sometimes tend to have a life of their own. Question is, how are we briefing the beneficiaries? And how are we ensuring that we are painting a picture of institutional autonomy? Because a fund manager, contributions manager, you're not supposed ordinarily to be a political actor. The beneficiary should see you as a professional. And that your figures and your considerations, your perception of risk, your appetite for risk, your evaluations of factors, and your investment portfolio generally reflects dynamics which are not political. They reflect things that are of benefit to the beneficiary. And so these are things that challenges SSNIT to deal with some of these issues that create what I call a persistent trust deficit. There is that persistent trust deficit where the owner of the investment has no either idea or has no trust for the one who is leading them. So there is steady fluctuation, the political environment, the political economy, the trust deficit. All these are factors that SSNIT will have to deal with while dealing with the next major issue, which is demographic shifts. I think one of the most dangerous things that SSNIT will have to be ready for are those group of people who were born around the turn of the century, 2000. And even more dangerous are the ones who were born around the 2010s. These are people who don't take no for answers. These are people who, they are not comfortable with things. I'm afraid that if we are not careful, the first time there could be a demonstration against SSNIT will come from that group. Because, those guys, for them, they don't follow rules, they don't follow boundaries. I'm sure we've all seen what's happening in Tanzania. Tanzania has been a very peaceful country forever. It's one of the quietest countries in Africa. In fact, Ghana has been more unstable than Tanzania. Whenever they have elections, you don't hear anything. It just passes peacefully. I'm sure we've all heard what's happening in Tanzania. And from the report, over 500 people are dead. So, and go check the statistics. Go check the demography. The people who were in that demonstration, the average member of the demonstrators was born around the turn of the 2000s. And I'm sure many of them perhaps around 2010 or 2009. So it's imperative that SSNIT starts becoming more conscious of that demographic group. Those groups perhaps may not retire for the next 20 years or 30 years. But the truth of the matter is they are the ones who ask questions, that we don't have the patience to retire. That group, they are the fast drug group. They have the fast food, fast cars, fast everything. And so the money to us be fast. We are contributing, we are not seeing the money coming. When have you retired? He said, no, I can't wait to retire. I want to see it now. How much have you kept for me? So it's important that SSNIT becomes conscious and mindful of the new demography. That group are the ones who may go to court against SSNIT and against government. They may go to court against SSNIT by asking the court to explain why it is compulsory that I should contribute to a scheme. That scheme says that we are giving you a life after retirement. And their answer will be, I don't need a life after retirement. I don't want you to decide for me. SSNIT, and not just SSNIT, but arrangements like SSNIT, in the US they have it, Social Security. They have been challenged, and they've been challenged because they are based on the principle of paternalism. The paternal principle that says the state knows what is good for you. And the state knows what is good for you more than you know what is good for yourself. So instead of giving it to you to chop today, so that tomorrow you become a burden on the state will make sure that you are protected against yourself. So that when you go into retirement, you have something that secures you. But today's generation may not wait and may not have that patience. And you may have a court that agrees with them. Because the Constitution says the right to autonomy is there. Everyone has the right to privacy. So I can decide that somehow, look, don't bother about me. My father will take care of me, or my grandfather will have some property somewhere. I'll take care of it after I go into retirement. The point I'm just trying to drive home is that SSNIT needs to become alive to the risks that it faces, especially as we go into the middle of the 21st century. But in so doing, SSNIT does not have to accept its collateralized position. SSNIT has to become mainstream to policy. So as government is deciding salaries, is SSNIT represented in the negotiating process? I don't think so. Is SSNIT part of the tripartite committee, or those bodies they used to call by names, including the TUC, the various bodies that negotiate the salaries? Has SSNIT been part of this? Yet SSNIT's basic raw material is salaries. It is the salary that determines the percentage. So SSNIT's basic and raw material is the salary. And not just that, but employment. One thing we haven't realized, and I'll say this openly, I am an employer. And as an employer, I have made calculations on employment considering SSNIT before. And I'm not alone. Many employers calculate SSNIT when deciding whether to employ people. Because when you're employing people, you are considering salary, and then you are considering your contributions on the salary. And you have a percentage. So you have to make those calculations to be sure that your budget accommodates it. What that means is that while social protection is supposed to guarantee people's retirement, social protection itself has become antithetical or inimical to employment. And some employers are calculating that the salary may be too much because we have to pay social contribution. It is therefore imperative that as we have representations around tables for all kinds of things, Ghana Employers Association, Association of Industries, TUC, SSNIT must be there. And the reason is because you are probably more interested in salaries than any of these entities. So SSNIT should not accept its collateralized position of being on the fence and urging employers to pay, urging government to pay, urging employees to contribute their amount to the scheme. SSNIT must become part of policy because it is out of policy that SSNIT benefits. There's therefore the need to rethink a number of things, which include retirements. Have we even thought about retirement? Why should people retire at 60? Statistics have shown that a lot of people die within the first 5 years of retirement. I don't know what statistics is showing, but statistics have shown that in other jurisdictions and in Ghana as well. Now, the reason for that is because a lot of people, when they are in retirement, because their brains, they are not using their brains. People degenerate very quickly when they are not using their brains, and many of them just puff off. People have issues, and like I mentioned, the top-up, the corruption top-up, that one too doesn't come. And because of that, realities hit people in the face, especially from the informal sector. 15% is not sustainable. SSNIT cannot continue around the 15% collection range and not push this. SSNIT needs to ensure that there is, therefore, an actuarial sustainability. SSNIT has to ensure that we have consistent actuarial reviews and that there's prudent investment, and that more importantly, there is transparency in the investment decision-making process, greater consultation. Perhaps SSNIT is doing making process, greater consultation. Perhaps SSNIT is doing very well, but the communication with the stakeholders are not as deepened as they're supposed to be. We need to therefore strengthen the transparency. SSNIT needs to leverage AI, which is the major part of my presentation, getting to the end. AI is here. SSNIT needs to worry about AI, but at the same time, it needs to see AI as a friend. The reason SSNIT needs to worry about AI is because SSNIT's major raw material, as I've mentioned, is salaries. AI threatens to take a lot of the jobs that are already paying salaries. And so if AI should progress the way it's progressing, a few years from now, a lot of the jobs that people do, AI will be doing them. If AI is going to do them, AI will not pay contributions. AI is not an employee. AI will get meshed into the system without the obligation of the employee. Therefore, where would SSNIT get its contributions if, assuming that 1/3 of all the jobs that people do currently are wiped off, let's say, in the next 20 years? SSNIT needs to worry about that, and SSNIT needs to accordingly calibrate its operations to ensure that it doesn't lose out. SSNIT needs to integrate with GRA. Other jurisdictions have done that. Kenya has done that, where there's an integration with some of these bodies. GRA has done very well with its collection. If GRA is collecting, then it means for whatever GRA collects, there must be the indexation to SSNIT. And the good thing is GRA appears to be expanding its scope into the informal sector. Perhaps that could be a leverage that SSNIT can piggyback on to ensure that there are no others who fall through the cracks. Cross-subsidization, I've already mentioned that, but cross-subsidization by government. Maybe it's about time we start asking how much government is also paying in terms of its contribution. Is what government paying adequate? Because government may not be paying living wages, perhaps we can push the payment from the living wages end, we'll push it to the pension end. Because government is already in default. If I should go to court today and challenge the government for not paying me living wages from the time I started working, because the Constitution said they should pay, and the government therefore owes me all this while, perhaps we can have a case by saying government should rather push the living wages payment to the retirement age. So anything people are paid, and I think that anybody who earns less than 1,000 Ghana cedis per month as SSNIT contribution, I think government should be able to double that. And double that because government did not pay that person a living wage while the person was at work. And I'm just saying that these are considerations, critical considerations that we have to have. They are not comfortable, but these are critical communications that we have among ourselves. Finally, on the issue of investment diversification, because of time, it is imperative that SSNIT engages and involves stakeholders in investment. Before any major enterprise by way of environmental interference is undertaken, that enterprise or project owner must conduct what is called environmental impact assessment. And the person who will give the approval for that is the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency. Maybe SSNIT should look at that model. Before SSNIT undertakes any major investment, perhaps SSNIT should conduct an investment impact assessment. And that investment impact assessment should be submitted to stakeholders So that as we are in this room, for example, it's okay for states to say, look, stakeholders have been invited for a meeting. Those who can come, you show up. This is an investment SSNIT is thinking about. Documents have been done. Feasibility studies have been conducted. The numbers all check up. This makes sense. The project, the future of the project is great. We are the best competitor in the space, etc., etc. We're asking you to give us give us your feedback. Let the owners appear to have ratified it. I think that even saves you of any questions. Investment impact assessment submitted to stakeholders, I think, will go a long way to deal with the issue of perception, and that perception being that SSNIT undertakes investments which are not necessarily commercially viable, even if people do not have the figures or the numbers. Finally, it's important for us to confront uncertainties. Pandemics remain a major threat. We haven't forgotten COVID-19. COVID-19 came and left, and when COVID came, we were all told to stay indoors. Fortunately, the state reopened very quickly. There are projections that there are pandemics on their way. And if some of them, don't be afraid. Before you go and say I prophesied, but that there are pandemics coming. Indeed, these are statistical projections, that the pandemics are cyclical. And given what happened not long ago, another one may be on the rise for, not long from now. And some of these pandemics have a tendency of hanging around for longer periods. Imagine that we are told not to work for 6 months. Imagine that there are therefore contribution deficits for 6 months. Employers say, well, they can't pay salaries, and some are unable to genuinely pay salaries. Or pandemics generally wipe off number of employment. How will SSNIT handle the issue of contributions when a lot of people are going to be dependent and many are not going to be able to contribute? As we look at the subject of vulnerability, we look at the subject of disability, we look at the subject of invalidity, injuries, and all these other collateral subjects that are implicated in SSNIT's work. It is important for SSNIT to remember that word, uncertainty. And that uncertainty should also guide SSNIT to make preparations for moments and days or weeks and months when there will be no contributions, but there will be dependence. In fact, in circumstances when there is no contributions, those are the circumstances when there are greater dependence, because people do not have the means to survive. And dependency tends to be systemic. If the one who's working can't earn, and the grandma at home is the only one on SSNIT, then potentially grandma who's on SSNIT is actually the one who's now going to be the breadwinner of the family. Some of these can be systemic and some can be difficult, but it's imperative that as we look forward into a future of uncertainty, a future of pandemics, a future of AI, a future of even government's own role, government's trying to shed itself of being the majority employer, majority should be for the private sector. It's imperative that SSNIT looks into that future abyss, remembering that the key word is uncertainty, and how it deals with uncertainty by creating the appropriate shock absorbers will determine the future sustainability of a scheme like SSNIT, which itself has reached.
Thank you so much, Professor Kofi Abochi. Thank you, thank you. He's the reason I'm at the Ghana School of Law. I ran away from lectures to come here. I hope he doesn't report me to the director. Thank you, thank you. So, wonderful presentation. That's the future of SSNIT that we are looking at. And you've heard, director, you've heard him talk about someone may sue you, He's planning to sue you. That's how lawyers behave. That's what I've been taught in class. So prepare. He's going to get a Gen Z and represent the Gen Z, and then before you realize you're in court. So start covering all the things he's giving you, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to review this particular presentation, and we have a next panel discussion. My moderator, Lord, is the same moderator. He did a great job earlier, so he has been allowed to come back, which means my job is threatened, just like AI is threatening all our jobs. But to help him with the discussion this afternoon, we have Dr. Kwabena Nyako Otu. He is Deputy Secretary General, Trades Union Congress, TUC. Let's welcome him. The next panelist is Mr. Anthony Akwa. He's Director, Standard and Compliance, National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA. So our regulator is here. The next panelist, Mr. Eric Sewonu Adadevo. He is council member, Ghana Employers Association. So the employer is here. They say that when you are hiring, you consider SSNIT contribution. And finally, Joseph Apia Mensah is General Manager, Management Information System at SSNIT. My next panelist, Dr. Mark Oliver Kevo, a former friend of mine. He's no more my friend. Director General, National Information Technology Agency, NITA. We were friends when he was in Eastern Region, but now that he's in Accra. We have Dr. Kofi Anochi Usudako, his former CEO, National Pensions Regulatory Authority, NPRA. And finally, Mr. Daniel Boatin Kwe is member and client services officer with SSNIT. Our moderator is Lord Kramer. Moderator, your guest, your moderator.
Thank you, Umaru. Usually they say when the music is nice, you play it twice, so I have the privilege of moderating this second session. But this time with a focus on more futuristic aspects of social security and how AI is determining the next phase of SSNIT. I listened to Professor Kofi Abuchi's presentation with rapt attention and with the expectancy of a level 400 student, because anytime I've had the opportunity to listen to him, he's delivered way beyond expectation. Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for Prof. So, it's a gentleman affair, no lady this time. Okay. So, discussion is going to focus on social security protection systems and how it can evolve amid global change from digitalization and artificial intelligence. Let me start off with Dr. Anochi. And I want you to be a bit imaginative. Has AI come too early? If AI was around 20 years ago, imagine what SSNIT would have looked like today. Tell us from an imaginative perspective. Yes, please. Yes.
Hello, yeah. I think AI, SSNIT would have been more efficient, because then there would have been, like Professor Abochi said, the uncertainties could have been predicted with predictive analytics. So you get most of the issues that we are having now, including the issue of possible trying to look around pandemics and data and all those things. SSNIT would have been more efficient. It might not be where we are now. Yes.
Right. That was only to set the tone for our discussion. Now, you've done a lot of research, and I know that you are very heavy on research. Now, from a research perspective, how are automation, platform-based jobs, and digital entrepreneurship challenging the traditional design of social security in Ghana?
I think that the AI would not necessarily take away jobs, right? AI will move us from the mundane task that we have, so that people can now move into innovation, critical thinking, and add more value to customer-facing aspects of our interaction with clients. So like Professor Abochi also said, it will let us be able to make more contact and communication with clients. We'll get to know those who are not happy. We'll get to know those who are likely to sue us. We'll get to know those who want more engagement with us. So it would not necessarily, yes, it will recalibrate the work environment that we have. So people will have to upskill, and people will have to now go into learning a lot of prompt engineering to be able to
to talk to AI to do what we want it to do. So like it was said, it's a double-edged sword as well, because it can, what they say, it can hallucinate. It can give you garbage. And if you don't know what you want, AI can take you where he wants to take you. Right, so I think that is what will be.
I see. So if I got you right, you believe strongly that data insights will guide social security planning in the country, right?
Yes. The good thing is that social security and AI have a common currency, and that is data.
Sorry, please continue.
If you get your data wrong, you cannot automate chaos data. So what we have to do with SSNIT is to make sure we have good quality data, because there's data quality before data intelligence.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
So let me go to Mr. Aqua from MPRA. Mr. Aqua, what measures are needed to prevent digital exclusion, particularly for the remote or the gig workers, older citizens in the informal sector? I mean, from a policy directive, you are the regulator. You work with the regulator, so.
Yeah, measures needed to, as it were, you're talking about the informal sector, am I right?
Gig economy as well.
Yeah, the gig economy is a huge aspect of the economy that is out of reach, in quotes. So you're looking at two things. We need, from the perspective of regulation, coming out firm on what we even mean by the word gig economy. Once we get our definitions right, the next layer of that will be how to regularize that. Because a lot of the time, the gig economy involves a lot of, I'm sitting here, I make an order for food, it comes to me, I pay, somebody takes, nobody. We must have a solid tracking system. If we have a solid tracking system, like he said, that will be solid data based on which we can now talk about earnings. Then based on those earnings, we can now talk about social security, because you are looking at an aggregate picture. You are not looking at, I think Prof and the rest have alluded to one thing in common. We have just about 15% of the workforce in formal sector. So if we don't get this analytics right, whatever we do will be a quagmire, we wouldn't make progress. So we need to really define the gig economy well, find intuitive ways of regulating it, and regulating the informal sector and the gig economy especially. You cannot leave it to just one arm. Part of it you have data security in it, part of it you have cyber security in it, part of it you have NPRA in it, and then part of it you have SSNIT in it. In fact, GRA also plays a key role. So if we don't get these integrations right, the gig economy will just remain a rhetoric, and we cannot track anything in that space.
And you can confirm to us that the NPRA is working steadily at this?
Yes, NPRA has taken decisive measures. Currently, as we talk, the informal sector is being launched holistically now. This is because there has been attempts, picks and pieces, efforts done. Now we are in the process of, how do we call it, launching a full-scale informal sector pension system, which will augment the present, what we know. Because you realize that if 80% of your people plus are in the informal sector and they are out of the scope of pensions, what it invariably means is that your retirement prognosis is only going to affect the 15% who contributed.
Yes.
And that is the vision that is currently being driven, where you want to bring the informal sector formally into the system. And a lot is being done. Currently, as we talk, I can tell you we are in the process of doing a pension digital ecosystem, which will be a backbone for the informal sector. Beyond that, you are looking at integrating payments and other stuff. Because you see, if you are telling somebody to pay, and let's assume I earned 100 Ghana cedis, what will be my fare from, let's assume, SSNIT Emporium, 37 to SSNIT. How much am I going to pay for SSNIT that I have to do that? But if we formalize it and do it well, I can sit in the comfort of my office and use my mobile phone or whatever to make my pension contribution. And that is the direction we are going right now.
So we heard from Prof's presentation that employers remain pivotal to the sustainability of the social security scheme. But you would also agree that AI is evolving even along work models and also transforming their roles and responsibilities. Mr. Adadivo, let me ask you, as a rep of GEA, that's Ghana Employers Association, what's your thought on how AI and digital tools should work in reshaping workforce management and social security protection? Quite a mouthful, but I'm sure you can handle this.
Yeah, thank you very much. As far as the Ghana Employers Association is concerned, we have a great relationship with SSNIT to the extent that I think at our AGM in September, we did have, a strong representation from SSNIT engaging about 800 or so members of the Employers Association. Now, when it comes to how we should leverage AI, we believe that in the current situation, there are opportunities of improvement. We believe that for the bigger employers, they are able to sit back in their office, plug into a SSNIT, and do such contributions. But then again, we also have the smaller group who employ very few, who queue up because they have to manually present their spreadsheets and therefore do the contribution. We believe that AI gives us that huge opportunity that we should be able to leverage to make sure that we make it a lot easier for employers to be able to do such contributions. In the community of employers, our belief is that it goes beyond that statutory requirement of doing contribution on behalf of our employees. We believe that such contribution is a bold statement of our willingness to invest in the confidence of the future of these employees and their families. So whatever we are able to do to collaborate with SSNIT, i.e. in the leveraging of AI, data science, to make sure that it makes it easier for our members to be able to do what is right, we would go for.
Thank you. And we hope you work at this steadily and quickly as well. Let me come to my good friend, Mr. Oliver. Bro, how are you? Good to see you. Right. We keep talking about the gig economy as the new focus for social security expansion. From a civil society perspective, are we doing enough to use digital tools and AI to strengthen citizen awareness and engagement around social security?
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations at your 60th anniversary. And this question is positioned in the context that Prof created, that, for example, assuming SSNIT contributions were not mandatory, would people have voluntarily paid? Because the gig economy is outside the formal economy. And if you need those contributions, efforts must be made to attract those people in the gig economy to voluntarily pay. It is therefore important for SSNIT to adopt technologies and strategies to make sure that people who are not mandatorily obliged to contribute are able to contribute. And in this age, and I know SSNIT, for example, is an early adopter of technology. If you look at the ministries, departments, and agencies in Ghana, SSNIT is one of the early adopters of technology, historically. And I'm sure, I've seen the SSNIT app. They have digitized from joining to contribution to tracking to claims collection and all that. And that is almost the whole cycle of the pension life cycle. Sure. And the next stage is to adopt AI. And it's not just about insight, but also personalizing data for individual pensioners and individual contributors. If, for example, on my SSNIT app, on every day, I'm able to see how much my contribution is, and I'm able to see my projection that, okay, at this point in time, you have contributed X amount. This means that when you retire, this is how much you are going to get every month. It encourages. So these are AI nudges that subtly encourages people to then say that, okay, then let me even voluntarily increase my contribution and see its response and see how much I'm going to earn when I'm on pension. So these are all things that SSNIT, as an early adopter of technology, can quickly build their platform on and invest in AI. And then we as a regulator, NITA as a regulator, we are ready to support the adoption of such technologies.
It's good to hear that there's a lot of work being done around that. But let me zero down to women in business. What specific role can women advocacy groups play in bridging the digital divide around social security when it comes to women in business?
Okay, so one of the things that I think our women are doing well in that case. Our market women are using Momo. They want to take the Momo money rather than put it in their cloth and all that. So once they have that experience, moving from that experience to pension becomes easy. So there could be that transfer of experience, transfer of trust. If they are able to trust that they can put their money on a Momo wallet, they will have the confidence and trust that they can put their money on a pension wallet also. So I think SSNIT should reach out more advocacy, more outreach, and the inclusion will increase.
Right. Thank you. Let me reach out to the rep from organized labor. Now, if there's any group that plays a vital role in protecting workers' rights, undoubtedly it is organized labor. As automation and AI reshape employment, organized labor certainly you have a duty to ensure inclusivity and coverage. Let me ask you, as the voice of workers, how is organized labor preparing for the changing employment landscape shaped by automation and digital platforms?
Thank you. Okay, so the professor talked about social security as a paternalistic social policy.
Yes.
So we know that people generally display myopia. They will not save towards the future. So we mandate that there should be compulsory savings. Now today, the evolution of the workforce and the workplace, even before AI and technology, has been said that it is not inuring to the benefit of social security. The Director General mentioned that in the banking halls today, you have SSNIT in your banking hall. And he used the example of EcoBank. Now today, in EcoBank banking hall, a large number of the people in that banking hall in suit and tie may not be contributing towards social security because they are outsourced workers, and that is the evolution I'm talking about. Yeah. Outsourced, they are paid a lump sum, they are full salary, and it's across most of the banking institutions and the evolution of the entire workforce. And they are then asked to go and do their own social security arrangement. So that paternalistic mandatory approach has been whittled down. And it's one of the reasons why so many people are working and are not contributing to pension. And the unions have tried very hard to bring this attention to policymakers. Now, across the workplace in Ghana today, there's large-scale outsourcing. Okay. But SSNIT probably will have to commend the unions and probably pay us Because you see, you know that the enforcement people will tell you, wherever there are unions, enforcement of social security as a labor right is very high. So high that we, the unions, will ensure that the workers pay. But the unions are being systematically dismantled. Sometimes by government policy, subtle ways. So you get to so many workplaces, and then there's an outsource. In fact, we have cited an amendment to a state institution that is amending its act. And in that act, they have specifically put the restriction on unionization. What can happen then is that, yeah, you will have workers, but nobody will help SSNIT to ensure that those workers are actually contributing towards their pension into the future. Now, so this is the evolution which has already taken place in the labor market, which very few, including SSNIT, is actually not paying attention, and which government appears to be encouraging, not just this government, but previous government. Now, with respect to AI, the professor again was right. You can have a tendency where work that delivers salary is being replaced with machines. But the unions have come to this point before. Somehow, we tend to have a very positive view of AI, because you remember during the days of the Industrial Revolution, the unions banned factories because they were using machines to replace workers. Today, we know that the Industrial Revolution has created far better jobs and more jobs than we had anticipated. We also think that probably the AI revolution can lead to same outcome. But again, we are in a world where you need to shape things with technology. The union toward policy, the unions are themselves doing a lot of things, organizing platform workers. And if you are successful in doing that, we will also make sure that those platform workers have a right to social security going into the future. But SSNIT, we need to deal with the perception problem the professor mentioned. It is a huge problem, even for those of us in the unions, convincing our members to join SSNIT. Today, all manner of workers are doing all manner of arrangements outside of SSNIT to secure their future, because the perception is that SSNIT will not give you a secured income into the future. Yes, the contributions, the payment will come regularly. For the past 60 years, you have not defaulted. But remember that for so many of the workers, it is 500 Ghana cedis a month. And if you stay in Dansoman as a retired teacher and you get 500 Ghana cedis, I know you show me all the calculations. That shows that probably some of them should even get less. But people are not interested in those technical calculations.
Right.
They are interested in the fact that they contributed. And we were assured that you get a retirement income security. By the end of the day, after 30 years of contribution, they get 300 Ghana cedis per month.
Thank you. Now, let's come home to SSNIT. We heard from the earlier presentation by, well, both Prof. and Mrs. Saki, that digital transformation represents a challenge, both a challenge and an opportunity for SSNIT. Now, Mr. Pia Mensah, you are the GM MIS at SSNIT and you lead the digital agenda at SSNIT. How is SSNIT preparing its workforce for AI-enabled service delivery in areas like claim processing, customer service, and data analytics?
Right. Thank you, Lord. But before I answer, let me make a little contribution to the conversation that
yes, you can.
AI is coming to replace salary work. We should see AI to be augmenting individual jobs that they do, to just bring improvement in service delivery and then efficiency at which we work. We should see it that way, rather than the conversation that when we adopt AI, we have to lay off workers. I mean, it creates that tension. It will augment the work that we do and improve our service delivery. So let's come back to SSNIT. Yes, we will adopt AI and you will use personalized services. is very key. Personalized services. Let's take it from the employers, the contributors, and then the pensioners.
Sure.
Personalized services with respect to employers. We wait, and then it's end of the month, and then those who are liable, some will walk into SSNIT office, and then submit their contribution report. By law, by end of the month, employers are supposed to submit their contribution report. We can adopt AI, train AI agents, and let them know that getting to the end of the month, we send messages to employers that, hey, employers, it's getting to the end of the month. We expect you to submit your contribution report. Then we give them a grace period of 14 days to pay. Within that 14 days period, we can still send our AI agents to inform them that, yes, we received your contribution report. You are expected to pay within the 14 days.
Right.
Just after the 14 days, those who are not able to come to pay, don't forget that the penalty will start kicking. We need to remind them that a failure to come will charge you penalties. And immediately we will also inform your employees that this month of contribution period, your employer has not submitted. For SSNIT to also use the employees as agents to enforce compliance on the employers. With respect to pensioners, we've started something. Immediately we process your pension benefits. We send you SMS messages. We are thinking of so many things to do. One of them is to also allow, I think we've even implemented that one, allow pensioners to sit at the comfort of their homes, and then those who are 72 or 75 years and above complete a life pensions certificate renewal without walking into SSNIT office. Now, how would you use AI to inform them? We know their date of birth in our system. So we can gather the data, train agents, AI agents. So when it's maybe a week or so to your birth date, we send you the notification. Nobody, staff will not work on it. It's a system AI agent that will pick the data and inform those who are due for certificate renewal. So, like I said, there are so many things that AI will, when we adopt AI, it will improve the services that we deliver to our clients.
It's good to hear this, and I'm also aware of a virtual branch that will soon be launched. Is it part of the AI agenda at SSNIT?
Yes, there will be also adoption of AI, where we will also have maybe live conversation with clients who may have one or two challenges. But beside that, you just get to our virtual branch, and any service that you require from registration up to pension claims, we will provide you without you visiting any SSNIT physical offices.
That's quite innovative and good to know. And when are you looking at rolling this out?
I believe by end of November, fully virtual branch. As we speak, we are on the pilot stage. Setup is almost 80% completed, trying to simulate the processes, and by the end of November, we should come on board.
Let me still stay at SSNIT and ask you this very important question, because your staff are very much important as far as this AI transformation is concerned. What forms of training and support have you put in place to keep staff relevant and confident in this digital and AI, transformation?
All right, so I think it starts from ourselves, MIS. So recently we've trained two of our staff on computing AI and, of course, cybersecurity. AI comes with risk. So you don't just look at AI without looking at cybersecurity. So the thinking is that we train our staff, and then they in turn would train all SSNIT staff to adopt the AI.
So is it like a train-the-trainer model?
Definitely, train-the-trainer model.
Right. Let me go to Daniel. Now, Daniel, you work closely with Mr. Pia Mensah, and listening to him, he alludes that there's a lot of initiative for staff in place. In all of this, the core value of SSNIT should be a guiding tool. Tell me, how can SSNIT uphold its core value of service of integrity amidst the growing automation in this AI era?
So I think Isa was mentioned earlier, So ISA has guidelines for service delivery. And guideline 5, guideline 17, guideline 20, they speak about how it is important for us to take feedback from our members, ensure that our services are digital first, and that we are meeting their needs. And what we realize is, as has been mentioned by everybody on the panel, there are disparate groups of Ghanaians. They are in disparate businesses. Some people work on their own, some people work for others. They are underpaid there, but they have something that they are doing on the side. And all these people should be able to access our services. So that is why, as GM said, we've adopted a multiple channel so that they can access our services throughout a lot of ways. So there's a virtual branch, they can receive services there. There's our branches, physical branches. There are people who can access, who have mobile phones but don't have access to internet. There's the USSD. So because we want to achieve proper service delivery so that everyone's needs are met, we've ensured that we have a multiple channel. This will ensure that the trust is ubiquitous. When we are ubiquitous, it will mean that everybody, anywhere, regardless of what they are doing, can access our services.
Yeah, sure.
So that is what we are hoping to drive at. Ubiquity through multiple channels. Yes.
And then in all the submissions we've heard today, whether we like it or not, it's Ghana first. So let me go to Dr. Kofi Anochi. I want us to integrate all the perspectives and see how Ghana can leverage technological advancement with human, centered service. So tell us, is there a simple way for Ghana as a country to leverage technology for future-proof social protection systems?
I think first we need policy, innovation, governance. And as a country, we must create the enabling environment, which I think Ghana has the AI Agenda 2023 to 2033. So and in one of them, the target is financial services, and then AI in public services. But the most important thing is organizational change management, the human aspect. Technology can do whatever it has to do, but we need to look at the soft issues and then train everybody in digital intelligence, not digital literacy. So what then happens is that we understand the legal aspect of it, we understand the social aspect of it, we understand the ethical aspect of it, and we understand the economic and also aspect of it. Because what AI is going to do is that it's going to increase, the employer is going to use robotic process automation to automate most of the mundane things that what's said. So compliance issue, sending triggers, sending alerts will be automated. But it doesn't take it away. Now you need human beings now to start thinking about what else can I let this thing do for me? So that is where it moves people into critical thinking and innovation, because you then need to, it's like you have an assistant, it's just an assistant for you. But you must know to tell it what you want it to do. And once you keep training it, it will start now. It's artificial intelligence. You are the human intelligence. So it cannot, if you know what you know, it cannot deceive you. And it's deceiving you if you used AI a bit. If you query it, it tells you, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Closing thoughts from each of you, and I want a straight yes or no answer, no explanations. So it's a generic question, yes or no answer. Okay, so from the presentations and discussions, do you believe that SSNIT is ready to work with all stakeholders to ensure AI enhances efficiency and expansion in social security delivery? Yes or no? Starting with you, sir.
That response should come from SSNIT, whether you are ready or not.
From your perspective, yes or no?
But I just want to...
No explanation, yes or no?
I just want to draw SSNIT's attention to the fact that adoption of AI is good. But again, go to the banking hall, as I mentioned. How many of you last visited a banking hall? All of us are doing banking on our apps. We have taken about 6 people from each banking hall as tellers, and they will not be contributing to Social Security.
Yes or no?
Thank you. I suspect that given all the things you have done in the past, you are likely to work with all of us to adopt social AI.
It's a yes.
It's a yes, thank you.
Say yes or no.
This question is difficult, but I will try. I think that given the journey of SSNIT over the last 60 years, but even more importantly in recent times, and then the adoption of, the 3-tier and all there is to it, the inclusion of actuaries looking at investment and all there is, and more importantly, the willingness to adopt AI gives us reason to believe that we are on the right course.
So it's a yes?
Yeah, it's a yes.
Yes or no, sir?
Two things. AI can be very good and AI can be very bad. And it ties to what Prof said earlier. If we train AI to do right and we understand AI cannot deceive or bully us. SSNIT on the other side, if it is ready, I'm sure that SSNIT is willing to, as it were, get the stakeholders aligned in the use of AI. And at least the signs are clear. So I think it's a yes.
It's a yes. Dr. Nochi?
Yes.
Thank you. Danny?
I don't have an option. Yes.
Well, like I said, SSNIT is an exemplar of technology adoption. And I believe that they are AI ready, but they must also make sure that they don't exclude people. They must, by design, be inclusive. Make sure people who are disabled, people with sight and hearing impairment and all that, you factor them in whatever design that you are looking at as you move digital. Else you end up excluding the vulnerable that we seek to protect.
Is it a yes?
It's a yes.
Thank you.
Well, AI has come to stay.
No explanation. A yes or a no?
It's a big yes.
Thank you. And to you out there, is it a yes or a no? If it's a yes, say a big yes. Yes. If it's a no, say a small no. So, clearly the years have won, and that puts a massive, massive responsibility on the heads of the management and staff of SSNIT to affirm the belief that my panelists here and you have in them. A big thank you, gentlemen, for joining this discussion. Your contributions have been very, very, very fruitful. I wish we could go on and on and on and on, but of course we need to be minded by brevity. Thank you so much, gentlemen, and I believe at this point in time, I can hand over to the MC to carry on with the rest of the program. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lord and his panel. I think we can say a big yes to just show that we appreciate them. Can we all say yes? Thank you, Lord, and your panelists. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I think we are having a heading, we are having a headway, and we know where we are headed, aren't we? There are a lot of questions on your mind. There are a lot of comments you want to make, I'm sure, by now. Now, before we take the questions and comments from the audience, there's an advice that we have a video that is self-explanatory or answers a lot of the questions. So we are going to watch that video. If after the video your questions are still not answered, then we can take the questions. DG is going to be in the hot seat, and he's going to take the questions if need be. Or DG, is there an amendment or addendum?
Just a bit of clarity. We wanted to really show this video for a reason. And one of the lessons we have picked up today is the fact that we haven't communicated well as an organization. And the basis of this video is interesting. Before I joined SSNIT, I was absolutely of the opinion that as a banker, I could invest my funds and get a higher return than SSNIT was giving me. So my very first week, I asked the actuarial team to do a simple analysis for me. You know, the minimum period that you can contribute and qualify for pensions is 15 years per the law. So I said, let's pick somebody who had contributed for that period and is on pension. And let's do our actuarial analysis. Let's pick the data on this person's contribution over the 15-year period Let's pick the data on treasury bills, and we use treasury bills because at least that wasn't impacted by DDEP. And let's see the benefits of the two. And the results were shocking even for me. So we'll go through that and we'll have other conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, DG, for guiding the conversation and putting the issues in better perspective. So, technical team, if we are ready, can we see that video once more?
Hello, my name is Kwesi Amwa. Hello, my name is Kwesi Amwa Bethi, and I work with the Social Security and National Insurance Trust, SSNIT. Do you care about your quality of life when you reach retirement age? Well, I'm here to tell you that you can live your best life when you go on retirement. How? Let us begin by first examining a very simple but important question. Is it better to invest in other securities as against contributing to SSNIT? Well, in order to get a very good view of this, we pulled some live data from our system in order to do this comparison. And so we have the data of an individual who started work before 1982 and retired in 2012. This represents the data and the contribution statement of this member who retired in 2012. Let's imagine that this individual decided not to contribute to SSNIT, but rather to invest in a 91-day T-bill. This representation is the statement of how much this individual puts into his 91-day T-bill. Subsequently, this individual's contributions totaled 22,929.73. He also accrued an interest of 42,438.76, giving us a total amount of 65,368.48. Please take note of this figure as we'll visit it once again. Let's move on now to SSNIT pensions and see what his contributions would have gained for him over the period. There are three key things that one needs to consider when SSNIT pensions are being calculated. The first being the age at retirement. Under the Pensions Act 766, the statutory age of retirement is 60 years. The second key parameter is the total number of months of Social Security contribution payments. The third key factor is the individual's salary or his earnings. Considering the age of retirement of this individual in 2012, he had attained the age of 60 as stipulated by the law. The number of months of contribution is 420 months. His pension rights per this calculation would then lead to 72.5%. The next key factor to be considered is his earnings or his salary. If we find an average of the 3 best years of this individual, we get to 22,320.82 Ghana cedis. Now that we have all our factors in place, let's do a little calculation. Based on the average of the 3 best years' annual salaries and his pension rights, we see that this individual's annual pension is going to be 16,182.59. Let us now find out what his monthly pension would then be. We divide that figure by 12 and we come to 1,348.55 Ghana cedis. Again, please take note of this figure. One very interesting and noteworthy fact is that